So, hanging out at Misfits Coffee.
Yeah, hanging out at Misfits Coffee.
It's our favorite coffee shop.
Of course it is.
And it's loud.
It's loud and it's good,
and we're hoping to have a good conversation
right.
and deconstruct. This is something new we're wanting to do, is where we deconstruct. I wouldn't say deconstruct. We just go back and we talk about the an episode that just aired. So we're going to try it, and we wanted to get out of the studio and
out of the bunker.
Yeah, out of the bunker, and make this more of an organic conversation. So, all right. So here's the thing. Tiberius Poe.
Yep. He's one of my favorite characters.
He's my favorite, other than the boys. He's my favorite to write.
Well, you do a good job because, I like detective stories. I think he's cool, and you keep adding more. We get a little more information about the character every story.
Yeah,
and now that we've discovered that he has a brother, and his brother's got some issues.
Yeah.
So that's cool. But
so what do you think about Tobias? What little we've been introduced to him?
On right now on the surface, he seems like a good guy. He's Tiberius's brother and his twin.
Yeah.
So right now, I think he's one of the good guys right now.
Yeah. And what I think about him is that obviously detective work runs in the family, right? And and we got hints that something happened in their childhood that allowed them to want to get to the bottom of things, while Tiberius took the paranormal route. So Tobias took the more logical, non-spiritual route.
Right. But that could possibly have a cool story later on. When you got two sides like that, that both know what they're doing and they're working together.
Yeah, and that's the thing. We know that there have been some collaboration in the past. So I'm curious to see how they collaborate in the future.
And Marlene could be the wild card.
Yeah, well, Marlene is always a wild card, right? Now, before we go any further with that, you were telling me about a piece of art that you're going to, that's in your mind for Tiberius and Marlene and Junji.
Junji, yeah, I want to do them on the Triumph, and with Tiberius in the sidecar, and Marlene and Junji are into the ride, and Tiberius is terrified.
Right.
And I might put some kind of critter in there in the background. I'm not sure. Some kind of monster.
Yeah.
Maybe the gargoyle. Well, the gargoyle's dead. Maybe something.
Yeah.
But just to see what he's terrified of. But I want, the two wild cards, Junji and Marlene, to be just completely into the moment.
Yeah.
And the guy who's Mr. Reason is just terrified of what's going to happen next.
Yeah. Now you say that's funny. I when you pitched that to me, immediately I was like, yes, I love it. So, but to transition from that to what you just said about them, he's a reasonable guy,
right?
But he allows his reason to incorporate the supernatural.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and you can tell, or hopefully we've written him well enough that you can tell that while he's willing to have that open mind, he doesn't always live in the moment, where Marlene and Junji are just like,
constantly.
Dude, we're constantly in the moment. Whatever will be, will be.
I think Tiberius, as open-minded as he is, I think that, that he also is a person who's in control. I think that that's one of his things, that he's always in control.
Yes, he wants to be in control because he knows how dangerous the world is. So he tries in his own little way to protect himself and the ones he loves by having control. Where Marlene and Junji are just like, it is what it is.
Yeah.
Whatever's going to happen is going to happen. They feel that the fates are already, or in Marlene's case, which we've not gotten to this, but she's a believer. So she believes that it's already written. So you might as well enjoy the journey, even if it ends in death and destruction. You might as well enjoy it and embrace it.
In cats, they're always, if something's happening, they're always going to be in it.
Right.
But I won't, they're all going to have helmets on, but, Marlene's is going to be the pink one that you talked about in this one with the horns. And then I'm going to throw in some Easter eggs of just things that we are both interested in there, just for visual reference, see if anybody can pick it up.
Right. All right. So we've just gotten our order. Thank you, Lord, for letting us be here today and have this conversation. Amen. All right. So I'm eager to see what Easter eggs you put in there. Okay. So good. So what does Madman like to drink?
My go-to is a large caramel macchiato, extra hot.
Yeah, and mine, I love hot coffee. I drink hot coffee more than I drink any other coffee. But this morning, which I often get when we're together for whatever reason, even though I'm a hot coffee guy, I have a blended mocha with almond milk. So, all right. So let's get into the Mist of Madness story.
Yeah.
All right. So we've talked a little bit about Tobias. That is, now we know he's got a brother. We also know he's got a mom and dad.
Yeah.
So let's start through the story. So what'd you think about the Mist of Madness?
Well, I mean, lots of times the Tiberius stories are supernatural. This one kind of started off supernatural, but also had kind of a sci-fi feel to it. I do love that Marlene calls him partner now. So that's pretty cool.
That's new.
And, it's also nice that the local police department always, if it's something weird, they're going to call it Tiberius.
Right.
And for a guy who's not really that old.
Yeah, he's a young guy.
He's got a lot of experience.
So let me ask you this. How old do you think he is? Because we've never said how old he is.
I'm thinking at the time now, I'm thinking early to mid 30s.
Yeah.
I'm thinking.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny. Sometimes these characters, I've never given them an actual age.
Right.
But in my mind, I see them in whatever age they are. Now, obviously, Alyssa's 50.
Yeah.
Cotton is in that age range.
Yeah.
We have a lot of folks in their 50s in our stories because we're dudes in our
50s. Yeah.
But I also, we got kids, we got a lot of things. But I would agree with that. Tiberius and Tobias are in their early 30s, and Marlene is as well.
I kind of thought Marlene might be a little bit younger,
late 20s.
Yeah. But I like that he is conflicted about his feelings for her, but everybody else knows.
Right. He's the only one that's clueless.
Yeah, but that's typical. Most guys tend not to pay attention to everybody else.
Like when he's explaining to everybody, there's somebody in my life that, I've got a thing for, but I don't want to ruin it, because it's a good thing at the moment. And then Alyssa and Cotton look at each other, and Alyssa says, so how is Marlene?
But, and I guess that's the advantage of being older. But the actual original crime scene was pretty vivid.
Yeah.
Creepy.
Yeah.
And being a paranormal and sci-fi geek that I am, I got the reference to the Philadelphia Experiment right away.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, I love that that the original scene was not the original scene.
Right.
And it eventually,
well, and sometimes that's how an investigation works.
Oh, yeah.
Because I was an investigator for almost 20 years. It's
right.
a total of 18 years, 13 years with one location, 5 years with another, ish, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there were often times that when you're in an investigation and you're on a particular thread and you realize, oh, this isn't what started it all.
Right.
Right. So you have to go back and you have to put that timeline together. So I almost didn't do it that way. And I almost did it, logically straight out. But you know what? Our listeners are smart.
Yeah. Yeah. And, that's the cool thing is that our listeners are smart and
we treat them as such.
So yeah, you can't treat people like they're idiots. But I think it made the story better.
Yeah.
Because, it actually got creepier.
Uh-huh.
Because that being as bad as it was, the lady with the octopus, the crabs attached to her, in my vivid mind, I'm like, that is nasty. Because I can see,
right, yeah,
all the legs and arms and stuff. Of course, then later on, the poor little rat who was attached,
Sweetie Petey.
Yeah, Sweetie Petey. But I told you, it started reminding me of the invisible monster from Johnny Quest.
Yep.
And but then you threw in cannibalistic goats, and then I went, ooh, ooh, because see, that's what Nevermore is. It throws you these curves because goats, yes, will eat anything.
Right.
Because younger, my parents had some, but also they're not dangerous. But when you get a group of them who've been driven insane,
right, for whatever they saw on the other side,
and somehow their bleeding sounds like chanting,
right,
that gets creepy.
Yeah.
And
then you just drive up on it on the side of a dark road in the middle of the night as you're chasing whatever you think this is.
And see, in my mind, I just had this vision of them pulling up and like just one head pops up and then they all kind of
with those weird
little oddball eyes. Yeah.
So the funny thing is I've had some folks, younger women in their 20s that I know have started listening to the show.
Oh, cool.
And they always see me as not the Lafayette Faust guy or the writer of this. Yeah. They see me as laid back, the guy, laid back, just super chill guy. And they were like, Alan, we are having trouble reconciling this guy who writes this weird stuff with the guy that we know. And they were like, the goats. They go, where did that come from? I went, I don't know. I was just sitting outside on a pretty day and it came to me.
Well, the cow and the deer, and I was, and to be honest with you, while I was listening to it, I'm like, I was in my mind, I'm going, please don't get up. Please don't get up.
Right.
Because if that thing got up, this homunculus of what the crap would be terrifying.
Yeah.
I have some kind of, I know that maybe their eyes glow because, they glow.
Yeah.
They have an aura about them. And that's just, in the dark, but, of course, reminiscent of the pigs.
Yeah.
But I like, it's very suspense building as they're working on this one. They get a call about another one. They're working on that one. They get a call about another. And then, of course, in Nevermore Hollows fashion, It ends up in a circus. Real, and see, again, in my mind, it's the circus from Something Wicked This Way Comes. It is not bright and happy, and it is creepy and very Nevermore purples and greens and lots of black and white stripes and
right. Yeah, it was funny because I was thinking, okay, what's the end game? Now, again, I rarely start with the end game in mind.
Yeah.
We've talked about how that you just go, okay, how this started was I had the idea for a floating cloud, and it was a Christmas colored cloud because I always like that imagery of the Christmas light colors. So I had that, and I didn't know what to do with it, right? And I'm like, does it drive people mad? What does it do? I really didn't know what it did.
Right.
And we both have gone down many rabbit trails in our lives, and the Philadelphia experiment is one of the original things as a young kid that got me into this whole idea, right? So I had this in the back of my mind, but I didn't have a Philadelphia experiment angle. And I was listening to Brother Nelly at the Dancing Poster podcast.
Yeah, our good buddy.
The Dancing Toaster.
Yeah.
Toaster. I was tongue tied. Dancing Toaster podcast, and he was talking about the Philadelphia experiment, and he was there was a part in it where he was talking about everybody said that the witnesses said that on the night that the Eldridge disappeared,
right,
it was swallowed up by a green glowing mist. And then my mind from that point, when he said that, I went from it drove them mad, right? It also melded them into the to the bulkheads and whatnot. And it was a domino effect. It's the cloud from the Philadelphia experiment that has washed up. On.
And now it's hungry.
And it's hungry.
Yeah. It doesn't, it's not sentient. It doesn't, but it's hungry, so it eats.
That's right.
And whatever else happens. And, but visually, and I'll say this every story, I've said it again. You're writing when I'm listening, visually I get pictures, and of this guy sticking out of a wall, and then you gave these other little descriptions like he was trying to free himself. He was scratching,
To me, honestly, that was one of the most terrifying scenes.
Yeah, because then it gets really claustrophobic.
Yeah.
Because you're in a situation you're not getting out. And then that it's fusing all these different things together. And then as we follow this, my brain is always, I think it's pretty much Scooby-Doo all the time, that's the trail, cause it kept getting worse and worse. And then, somebody said, well, the circus. Oh no.
Right.
Okay.
So that's where I'm going with that. I was like, all right. So I just started out with cloud, now that I knew that what it was,
right.
The opening scene was the scene that I wrote.
Right.
From there, I had no idea where it was going to go. I was like, let's just see what happens. And then I was going along, I'm like, what's the end game? And I got to the point to where they were driving through, when they went over to see the cow and the deer.
Right.
I got to that point and I said, I need to know where this is going.
Yeah.
Right. And then it just hit me. Of course, because it's Nevermore Hollows.
Yeah.
It's got to be a circus.
Yeah. And again, like I said, it'd have to be. But then, I love, we introduced our good friend Nelly, as
and I hope that he likes it because, we've only had a couple of actual conversations with Nelly, but we've been devouring his podcast.
Oh yeah. I that's one of the podcasts, especially podcasts from our friends.
Yeah.
I always wait for those to drop because I really want to hear it.
Yeah.
And Nelly's got everybody, all our friends have their own little niche in, and how they interview, how they do stories, how they do this and that. And Nelly's got his.
Yeah, but
And
he has the ability to narrate so well. He's a great storyteller.
Yeah, he is. And so it's cool that he's there. So, when we make the Nevermore Hollows film, whether it be live action or animated, the red carpet thing's there's going to be a lot of people
right,
coming.
Because there's going to be me, there's going to be you, there's going to be John, Matthew, Nellie now, obviously Ethan, and all of our families.
All our families, it's going to be a big
deal. It'll be fun.
We'll have to find someplace really creepy to do it.
Right.
But and then you took it wasn't just it wasn't a basic circus thing that you dealt with. You went to an extreme, and the motorcycles in the round cage. That's a big deal,
Yeah.
And it's really, really cool. It's insane, but it also deals in there's some science to it,
Yeah. Uh-huh.
But
now I know there'll be real scientists who listen to somebody and they go, "That's not a real Faraday cage."
No,
right. But for you had to take some creative liberties.
Yeah.
Now I got to tell you where that came from, and I think I hinted at this, or I even told you this.
Yeah.
I was sitting there one night, and I was writing. I usually write in the day, but I was writing. I was sitting on the couch, and Brother John reached out to me from Miss Monsters and Mullets. And he says, "What you doing, man?" And I was like, I'm working on this story. So we just started dialogue back and forth, texting. Yeah. And I said, how would you capture or kill a mist? And for about 20 minutes, there was just back and forth and back and forth. And he said, Faraday cage. And I had been racking my brain because the story, I literally was to the point where it was, we're headed to the circus.
Right.
How do we kill it?
Yeah.
How do we kill it? And I realized you can't kill it. You have to capture it.
Right.
So when he said Faraday cage, I was like, brilliant. And he was a beat ahead of me, but he gets credit for coming up with that idea.
Right.
So then I was like, well, how in the world do we get a Faraday cage that's big enough to do this? And then he went Globe of Death.
Yeah.
So I have to give John all the credit for that.
It's a great story. It's a great ending. And, and then you get to throw Marlene in there, who is, I like that Tiberius is like, he's our hero, so he's going to do it. And she stops him because you can't ride a motorcycle.
Right. But see, it wasn't girl boss thing.
No.
You and I talk all the time how we're sick to death of the girl boss. We love strong women. Yes. Women can do a lot.
We both married strong.
That's right. And women are athletes. Yeah. Women are too. But when you watch Hollywood nowadays, especially Disney, and you get these women who are 89 pounds and they're beating the crap out of, Captain America type guys. It's unrealistic.
Right.
So with Marlene, she's a badass.
Yeah.
She's not a girl boss.
Oh.
It was just in the moment. It was one of those where she knew that she had the right skill set.
Right.
And he realized it too.
Yeah. Well, it's confidence.
That's right.
And, and he's man enough
to admit it,
to understand that, yeah, she's right.
Yeah. So, but I'm still going to be there to support her and do my part.
And then he was still concerned that when she drove through it and it hit the top of her head, but then she was just laughing because she was having fun.
Right.
And that's one of the humans, we got a lot of issues, but we can do some cool crap. And, when you're having fun, and you're doing, you're moving at a good clip and it's just kind of, and again, she's an in the moment type person. So that would be in the moment.
Yeah. Character.
And, And she she having a ball. She's looking good doing it. So,
right.
And then gets the job done.
Yeah.
And then, of course, then that moves that we get some of these folks that have been affected. They're all in Morningstar. Stuff happens in Morningstar. You never can tell.
That's right. Look, there's something big going to happen in Morningstar because we've already put quite a few people in Morningstar.
Yep.
We had last Halloween, we had Psycho Juju show up in Morningstar. Excuse me, but we know there's a lot more that can happen because there's with these crazy people, who knows what'll happen when we get back to that story.
And also, you made a little hint about elves.
Yeah, what do you think about that?
They'll rob you blind.
I love how they're the raccoons of the spiritual world.
That was hilarious. And of course, Nevermore, our gnomes ain't gnomes, and our elves have got to be, something else.
Yeah. Look, I have wrestled with how to introduce elves for literally years.
Well, I mean, we introduced pixies.
That's right.
So,
and those are completely different. Right. So, you and I are both Larry Correa fans for the Monster Hunter International books. So I had to take some inspiration from the way he did his elves. Now, my elves are obviously going to be totally different. Right. But the fact that he took such liberty with his elves and made them trailer park.
Well, it's fun to take because of Tolkien, and the elves are elegant, and the elves are this, and the elves, and it's fun to go. No, they not American ones.
Right.
Those are European. American ones ain't that.
Right.
And so I think it's fun, and I can't wait.
Yeah.
To see what else happens. But it's a good story, and again, I've listened to all the Tiberius stories a lot because they're good. They're well crafted, and I'm not blowing smoke or anything. This is what I believe. Of course, all the stories are well crafted.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a good story, and it's creepy.
Yeah.
And there's not gory, but it's
there's some body horror.
Yeah. But it's in a film it would be a good scare or a good kind of situation.
Well, let me ask you this.
What?
One, there's a mistake in it. I wonder if anybody will catch. It's a pretty big mistake. And number two, and we'll get to that mistake in a second. But number two is, I tell what happens to the people. They rounded up there in Morningstar. We talk about the animals are either euthanized or autopsied and dealt with. But I don't say what we did with the mist. Is that a problem?
Well, not in Nevermore, because I just when it ended, and I got that, I'm like, well, somebody got it. Whether I'm sure some behind the scenes, whatever. I just thought about that. We need to do a story about we just call it the Nevermore Hollows Rose Department.
Okay.
And those are the guys that have to clean up.
Oh, look, that is brilliant. So as soon as we're done recording this, I'm going to put that on my list. Actually, I can put it here. So that's brilliant, and that fits the whole vibe of Nevermore Hollows because it's a bunch of road guys.
Yeah, but that's just when they're like, well, who's going to do it? And Mosley just say, I'll just call the road department, and everybody goes, oh.
Look, that is brilliant, and that's world building right there. That literally takes us deep. All right, so I almost went back and gave an answer to what happened to it, and then I thought, no, let's be vague.
Yep.
And then I thought, for the folks that are really truly fans, this is one of those things where when we get a Discord started, in a forum, this will be one of those that hopefully people will speculate.
Right.
What do you think happened to it?
Yeah. So, it's Nevermore, so who knows what happened to it.
Look, I got to say, this road department thing excites me.
Well, see, I'm already seeing characters.
Yeah. It excites me because, again, the challenge has never been to, we walk a line
Right.
of being, embracing and leaning into the redneck gothic, the white trash whimsy. But at the end of the day, it's got to be a good story.
Yeah.
And if we're not careful, some of these stories could get stupid.
Yeah.
Right. So the challenge is always, which I love the challenge, is how do we take these ideas and make them fun, entertaining, and actually good story?
Well, picking up roadkill in Nevermore Hollows, it ain't no telling what you're going to
That's
come.
right. So that might be the next story.
It could be, goats. It could be,
Yeah. So I'm working right now. I'm working on the next Psycho Juju story. I'm about halfway through it.
Yeah, I can't wait.
And I'm trying hard to get it out before Halloween, but I've got 5 days to get it finished, written,
and recorded and everything. So.
I don't know if we're going to get there.
Yeah,
but it's going to be a doozy. But all right. So let's go. The mistake I made. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So what does Tiberius drive?
Oh, the big Bronco.
It's a Blazer, 72.
Blazer. Yes. Sorry.
K5 Blazer.
Yeah.
In this one, I call it a K1 Blazer. There's no such thing as a K1 Blazer.
Oh, there is now.
Right. I almost went back and changed it, but by that time,
his is a prototype.
A prototype. So what we can always say, look, this is funny. So when we're at a con, or we're having a panel or all this, and people ask, we can go, well, there was a prototype. He has a K5, but he also has a K1.
Yeah.
So that's how we get nerded out.
Yeah.
But I almost went back and explained it or changed it.
Right.
But by this time, man, I was so under the gun, and I was ready to get
look at what it's created now.
Yeah. Right. So now we've got
he's got a daily driver. And then he's got, the baby.
Right. Yeah.
And the baby is one that when the chick gets real,
right,
you get baby.
Right. So love it. All right. So wrap it up. Is there anything else? This is the first story that we hear of Sabbath Black. Now there's another story that's only on Patreon where he makes his first official appearance, but in the main storyline,
and Kafka Cobain is in that other story.
That's right.
Yeah.
But in this main storyline that we put out for everybody, right? This is the first mention of Sabbath Black.
Yeah. And I like him.
Yeah.
He's a cool character. I'm sure there's a lot of stuff that we could do with him. I want to do a commercial with him. I want to
Sabbath Black's Records and Tape.
Yep. Yeah. And but I think I haven't drawn him yet.
Yeah.
But I got an idea.
So just out of curiosity, what's your idea?
Well, right now, almost like the Captain Caveman type thing. I just want him to have like long hair, and a beard, and just sunglasses. And all you see is like a nose.
Yeah.
And possibly a cigar.
Yeah.
But and then just old jeans, leather, big boots.
Yeah.
He's
almost like, in my mind, he's a mixture of a young Glenn Danzig and Ozzy.
Yeah.
That type of vibe, that, like you said, that British heavy metal from the 70s and 80s, which one we all know Glenn Danzig was actually punk, but the Misfits. But he's got that vibe.
Yeah.
So what you're describing is very similar. The long hair, beard. Now, Ozzy and Danzig never had beards, but I do see him with the beard.
Well, just because of how his voice developed.
Yeah.
I just kind of see him, and he's big.
Right. Yeah, he's a big guy. And I was thinking last night, I was like, okay, after the new Psycho Juju story, what's next? And I'm thinking it's going to be the night that his band was killed. And this will be another one of those stories that I get to I'm in Nevermore, but I step out.
Okay. I don't know why this popped in my head, but you remember the original The Fog movie, The Fog?
Yeah.
They could be sitting. It could be a campfire, or they could be sitting around a table in a coffee shop, or whatever, and they're all telling stories.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Sabbath is just sitting, and he's sitting in, like a big chair, and you don't want to hear a real scary story.
Yes. All right. So I love what you're doing,
Yeah.
because I was just thinking he's going to be sitting probably at Winona's or Misfits Coffee.
Yeah, Winona's
talking to
good.
Kafka.
Yeah. He could be sitting like in a round booth, just like taking up space.
Yeah. And so they're telling stories.
Yeah.
That's what was in my mind. But then you brought in the fog angle there.
Yeah.
You want to hear a story? Yes. I love it. So that way it's still in Nevermore Hollows.
Yeah.
But he's talking about, kind of like when Tiberius was talking about being in Hollywood.
Right.
So he's talking about being in New Orleans.
Mm-hmm.
When we rented this, we rented this recording studio,
Okay.
and all hell broke loose.
We rented this studio, see, and then all this crap started happening.
I love it.
I got to take advantage of the sinus voice because I can get real.
Right. Look, I can't wait. So I was thinking last night, as soon as I finish the Psycho Juju story, that's probably going to be the next story.
That'd be cool, man.
Yeah. And then you're going to have a lot of voice work in that.
Oh, boy.
You'll be narrating most of it.
Okay, cool.
That's why I say, I mean, if you're going to, if it's going to be his story and you've got that distinctive voice, it wouldn't make sense for me to narrate it and then you only speak.
But, that's, like I said, I want to do a commercial for his place. I want to do a Misfits Coffee commercial with Kafka. Because I did his voice at work the other day for some reason. They're like, "Well, what are you talking about?" I said, "I just somebody said something." I started laughing. They're like, "What are you talking about?" And I slid into Kafka's voice. I was like, "Hey," and they just like, they just looked at me like.
So I play that clip of you announcing the Unpretties a lot at work. I play it to people, and they go, "What's when I start talking about the immersiveness of our show, and I tell them that story about what we did there, and which that's on Patreon,
right?"
And when you start talking as Kafka, they go, "Who's that?" And I went, "That's my partner and co-host, and he's totally in character." And they think it's a hoot, man.
Well, I've been doing cartoon voices all my life. Now I get to have fun and do these guys. But yeah, the cool thing is you make these characters up.
Yeah.
And, the Wayland story that I want to do, I've thought more about that too.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you when we're not recording.
Yeah.
But
all right. I want to, since you're going to tell me when we're done recording, I want to say this about, like how you pour in. I've said this before too, but I don't know if we've actually got it recorded. So this would be a good one. Sometimes I'm very clear on what I want this character to look like and stuff like that. And Sabbath Black was one of them, right? I said he's a heavy metal guy from like, or he's got to look like a 70s or 80s heavy metal guy. And I had him totally American. And you said, right?
Yeah, he's got to be British.
He's got to be British. And I went, yeah, that makes sense because that's how he got there, is British heavy metal. And I was like, okay, what do you got? And when you did the voice from that moment on, you took a character that was already defined in my head, and you gave it nuance, and you gave it depth that I didn't give it. So that's why I love it when and I've been doing that a lot lately. You go, how do you see this character?
Yeah, I know, and I appreciate it, man, because your characters are very well put together.
But you help bring the depth and help bring.
That's very kind. But like Kafka, he's a punk guy, so he's still got to be lean, even though he's old. He's tall.
Yeah.
And he's just he takes up space, and it's all black. He wears black on black, or there's a lot of biker type feel.
Yeah.
But and I want him in my mind. I kind of see him almost comically large.
Who? Sabbath?
Yeah. As just when he's always kind of just he's got a duck to go in a door or something like that. And most of it's probably because of the boots. but that would be fun. Like Danzig, you know, if he takes off his boots, he's like 4 feet tall.
Right.
But are we recording still?
Yeah, we're still recording. Okay. All right, so we'll end it on this. So let's end
Glenn.
right. Hopefully, I love the Misfits.
Oh yeah,
yeah, that's one of my favorite bands of all time. And even though I like the Glenn Danzig era, my favorite is the Michael Graves era.
Okay.
Okay. So, but Danzig, as much as I like the vibe, you know, and I loved his, you know, his first album with Mother. I play that song all the time with my guitar, Mother, right? But he's a douchebag, right? So anyway, don't be a douche, Glenn. And we'll let you have a role in the Nevermore Hollow series. Sure. So anyway, I know this guy, and his name is Cameron. Now, Cameron is 6'6", right? His dad is 6'9".
Jeez.
Okay, so Cameron and I were driving around here about 6 or 8 months ago, and we were just telling stories, getting to know each other. And he said that he and his dad were in New Mexico. It feels like it was one of those weird states. And he says we were driving somewhere, and we pulled off the side of the road at this little crap hole, mom and pop place. And he goes, we walk in, there's maybe 10 people in this place. And he goes, there was a woman behind the counter at the bar. And he goes, Alan, she was 5'5" if she was anything, and she didn't have maybe but one tooth in her head, right? And he goes, we had to duck. He goes, my dad had to duck to walk in. When we walked in, she said, when the door stopped, when the door shut, she looked up and said, where the hell's the circus? And he goes, okay, yes, we're freakishly tall. He goes, but for her to call us circus freaks.
Oh man, that's awesome.
She looked like Quasimodo, but fewer teeth. But
that's awesome.
All right, so we'll end this conversation here. Hopefully we can clean up some of this background noise, because I think this has been a great conversation.
Oh yeah.
And as always, Brother Chris, I appreciate you for being part of the show.
I appreciate you, man.